The universe of Genshin Impact is dying. That's not a theory, we've been told that straight up by one of the few characters we know who actually explores it.
Abyssal energies are all that lie beyond Teyvat's border.
Evidently, whatever the Abyss is, it's a universal threat that is ending planetary civilization after planetary civilization, including the Traveler's homeworld. And some of these civilizations, including Travelers, are technologically advanced to the point of sapient general AIs, terraforming of solar systems, and probably plenty of other high-tech science fiction concepts, and even they can't overcome the Abyss. As a result, the universe has become something like a dark forest. That's a concept popularized in a 2008 novel of the same name, presenting the dark forest hypothesis as a solution to the Fermi paradox. For those not read up on outer space and sci-fi, I'll summarize. The Fermi paradox arises when astrophysicists calculate the probability of intelligent alien life, which is evidently very high, so it's extremely strange that we've yet to detect a single shred of evidence of intelligent life anywhere else in the universe. The dark forest hypothesis posits that the reason for that is that all advanced civilizations are hiding, because they are afraid that if another advanced civilization learns of their existence, then they will be destroyed. And likewise, if they detect another advanced civilization, they may try to destroy it themselves as a preemptive measure to stop that other civilization from attacking them first. My theory borrows from this to say that the Abyss preys on any advanced civilization it detects. As a result, survivors of those civilizations have no choice but to flee to the farthest viable planet they can find and then hide there. Thanks to the new outfit's lore, we actually know that's exactly what the Travelers were doing in their journey through space. And most likely, that's what the Heavenly Principles were doing as well. And maybe even Nibelung before that. I'll be discussing some things that could spoil some quests, and I've listed them on the screen. It seems safe to assume that someone watching a lore video is probably caught up on quests, so this will be the only spoiler warning. Let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, we were told Nibelung was born alongside the world, so he couldn't have been a spacefarer from another lost civilization. Well, I'm sold on the idea that Genshin Impact is now fully science fiction, and anything that seems like fantasy magic is just extremely advanced technology. And I don't think a dragon being born with a whole planet and then suddenly creating an advanced dragon utopia is very sci-fi. So let's try to explain it. Phlogiston.
Phlogiston is Teyvat's primordial form of energy.
Kukulkan Khan also tells us it is a form of computronium, programmable matter, which is an actual theoretical concept in real life. And the way Kukulkan Khan describes it is pretty accurate. Matter can be converted into computronium, and everything would exist as data inside it. Theoretically, life as data within computronium could circumvent the heat death of the universe, and that's exactly what Huitzilopochtli was trying to do to Teyvat, if Little One activates it. And Little One becomes a consciousness within it where the passage of millions of years has little meaning. But hang on. Phlogiston already existed. As stated, it was Teyvat's primordial form of energy. So where did that computronium come from? Well, I have no further evidence to set up this theory, so I'm just going to spit it out. Nibelung came from an advanced civilization millions or even billions of years ago that converted itself into phlogiston already. That civilization, now comprised entirely of one massive blob of phlogiston, drifted through the cosmos, and it eventually collided with a barely formed planet consisting of a primordial soup, a kind of fluid theorized to be the origin of life on Earth. That would be the primordial sea of Teyvat, also said to be the origin of life. By this point, the consciousness within the phlogiston had tired of its existence as pure data. It had second thoughts the same way Little One has second thoughts if you choose that option. So, using the primordial sea, it slowly starts converting itself back into living matter, starting with the Dragon King himself, Nibelung. And this is how he has said to have been born alongside the world. Thus, Teyvat quickly becomes the planet of the dragons, and they can rapidly evolve and develop advanced technology because the data for it is already contained inside the phlogiston. The concept of a race converting itself into a liquid and biding its time before it can be converted back into living matter, not to mention that liquid being used as a power source as the Natlanese do, is the plot point of Men of Lithen, an in-game book almost certainly written by Kukulkan Khan, one of the original dragons. This incredibly unique origin of Teyvat is the thing that made the Voyager break their vow of non-interference and make contact with Nibelung. She could tell Teyvat was special, just not exactly how. Alright, now maybe no one was asking about Nibelung's origin, but I just wanted to put that theory out there before getting to the part that's relevant to the current story. Nibelung leaves, and along comes Phanes, the primordial one, the one who now prefers to be called the Heavenly Principles. Who is Phanes? Where do they come from? These are the big questions right now, and everyone's got their theories. After the reveal that the traveler's ship was controlled by a sapient AI and did a flyby of Teyvat thousands of years ago, most people seem to think Phanes is the AI of Traveler's ship that hopped off to prepare the planet for the travelers to set up a new human civilization. I'm not going to declare them all wrong, but I think something else is going on, because first of all, the Heavenly Principles really don't seem like they're on the Traveler's side, and as we'll discuss later, they hardly seem on humanity's side either. Second, how is an AI just going to hop off and terraform a planet while sending its ship off into space for another thousands of years? What would be the point of not keeping it nearby? To be fair, I can think of an explanation, but if you add in the fact that the ship has no record of what happened in its ship's log, nah, I don't buy it. And this is where the Genshin Dark Forest comes in. Multiple advanced civilizations have been destroyed by the Abyss, and many of them probably sent off arcs with AI-controlled wardens to try to set up their civilization on a new world, away from the Abyss. We know the travelers came from one such world, and I say Phanes came from another. We've been told that Phanes both brought humanity to Teyvat and created humanity. Combine that with what we know about the traveler's ship carrying a genetic vault, and Phanes' creation of humanity being likened to an ark being moored, and the best explanation is that Phanes also had a human genetic vault brought from their homeworld, and used it to recreate humanity on Teyvat. Hey, wait a minute, didn't I say these were different civilizations? Why is it all humans and not some weird aliens? I don't know, man. Every alien just being some variant of human for some reason is one of the most common tropes in all of space-themed sci-fi. It just is what it is. Maybe all their planets are colonies founded by explorers from Earth ages ago and got cut off from each other, or maybe there's some progenitor race going around creating humans everywhere, or maybe they were kidnapped and brought to other planets by another advanced civilization. It could be anything, but it's always something. Back to Genshin. Even the story of Phanes being birthed from an egg and the eggshell going on to create the firmament could easily be explained by the spaceship looking like an egg and then converting itself into the firmament as part of the terraforming process. Of course, they also stomped the dragon civilization in the process because the dragons weren't smart enough to hide their world. Phanes, on the other hand, is smart enough to hide, and that's the purpose of the False Sky. It's not just a method of controlling Teyvat, it's to protect it from the Abyss or other civilizations that might swing by and try to do the same thing that Phanes just did. After that, Phanes was not so great. Stories suggest that the Heavenly Principles would regularly destroy their own civilization every time people became too advanced. The Moon Sisters say that this ruler seemed to have a paranoia of beings who seek power. Likely their previous civilization fell to ruin because of its people seeking abyssal power, and the Heavenly Principles are taking every measure to ensure that doesn't happen again. This continued until Nibelung's return and the War of Funerary Flame, during which abyssal corruption and forbidden knowledge spread through Teyvat. And while Nibelung was defeated, he was able to strike a critical hit to the Heavenly Principles. Two problems arose in the aftermath of the war. First, the abyssal corruption needed to be quelled, and so the Heavenly Principles sent down celestial nails to purify the abyss, the same devices they were using to cull their own population, which, of course, also culled another massive amount of people. So the population of Teyvat likely dipped to a dangerously low level at this point. Second, the Heavenly Principles had their functions ruined and could no longer continue to suppress the order of the world. So, to rectify both problems, Phanes made a decision. Other beings from outside Teyvat would need to be lured here so that Phanes could steal their power and allow the world to progress as intended. We learned in Phanes Arrival that outsiders coming to Teyvat seems to be a pretty regular occurrence. Well, this is why. They are being lured and captured, with certain very rare outsiders being made to serve Phanes one way or another, like the Third Descender and the One Who Came After. Along comes the Traveler's spaceship. This ship not only has a whole genetic vault that can be used to create an entire new diverse gene pool of humanity, but also all sorts of advanced technology, power sources, and who knows what else. My theory goes like this. The planet in the outfit description is Teyvat, but it's been disguised to look like a dead rock that has been destroyed by a supernova. When Traveler's spaceship gets close, Phanes attacks it and quickly hacks into its systems. While the ship is under their control, they steal the genetic vault, fabricate the ship's logs to make it look like the ship simply did a flyby to scan the planet and then left, and then they sent the ship on its way. It's possible they stole even more than this, like maybe the twin, but that's going to take more thought and is better left to a future video. However, the ship's AI had just enough control to leave one subtle clue as to what might have happened, and that clue was recording the date of the planet's alleged destruction to be the twins' birthday. Such a detail would be irrelevant to Phanes because they have no idea when the twins were born, but many years later, potentially thousands as the traveler guesses, whatever control system is left on board the ship reviews the corrupted data in its past logs and notices this incredibly unlikely detail, and realizes that this must be a hint that it needs to go back to Teyvat. That's when it returns and makes an unfortunate crash landing, then sits dormant for hundreds of years. Bringing the traveler back to Teyvat so that they could learn the truth was evidently the final act of whatever was controlling the ship. And the truth of this world is that the humans here were created using the genetic vault stolen from our ship, and the heavenly principles are blocking the travelers from doing their duty and becoming the shepherds of a new human civilization. As for why the traveler seems to not have any idea they were carrying a genetic vault and were supposed to be finding a new home for their lost civilization, the only explanation I have is that the twins were never told. Only the ship AI knows. The twins just think they are on a journey to find a place that feels like home. The ship AI is handling the actual logistics and deciding on the practicality of each potential planet. When they all agree on a world, they would know they found the right home. Alright, that's the theory. At this point I'm tempted to go off and do tangents and piling more theories on top of theories, but I think it's to everyone's benefit, especially mine, if I keep lore videos a little more focused on specific theories, rather than just throwing a bunch at the wall. That way I can actually release videos a little more often, and also give each theory more time to cook. If you watched my last video and heard me mention needing to do more research to expand my huge theory at the end, well, this is what I'm doing instead of that. Because that theory was actually going to be a ton of theories all mashed together, it'll just be better this way. That said, I do want to touch base on some of those things I said as they relate to this theory, as well as address a couple of the most popular counter-theories. First, Paimon being Traveler's ship's AI. Seems like most people already think this for a number of reasons, but where we differ is that they all think Phanes is also Traveler's ship's AI, and Paimon was originally a part of Phanes. I already gave my position on that, and I admit they may very well be correct. Maybe the reason Phanes is a huge jerk is because of the disconnected idea association module, and that module gained sapience and became Paimon. If we consider that Egeria became a god upon receiving a shard of the primordial one, and every god of Teyvat has a goetic name, and Paimon is one of those names, then every being with a goetic name, including the gods of Teyvat and Paimon, are different modules that have been disconnected from the Phanes AI, or shards. This is pretty much what the 11th Dragon Lord did, which created Inepha as an independent AI being, so we've literally already seen it happen before. Not gonna lie, that theory is more likely to be correct. I only like mine better because it's mine. One more thing I would like to offer is an explanation for Paimon's memory of getting super tired, falling into a whirlpool, and getting sucked out to sea. If Traveler's spaceship was losing power because of having its systems ransacked, then the AI on board might experience something akin to getting tired. And take a look at the scene of Skirk entering the firmament. The clouds that form around her look an awful lot like a whirlpool, and she lands in the sea. But that's all stuff we can revisit in a future video because the Paimon mysteries aren't going anywhere. Second, where do the Descenders fit in? In the last video, I proposed that each Descender might be someone from Traveler's home world who could assume control of Phanes, but I don't think so anymore. I think it's more likely that each Descender is someone in possession of terraforming technology. That sure would fit the bill of a will that can rival a world, but that still doesn't explain why the twin isn't a Descender and the Traveler is, when they both seem pretty clueless about how to use the spaceship. But again, that'll have to be explored in the future. And the last thing is another teaser for a future theory. One good point that other lore enthusiasts made is that the teleportation waypoints seem to be devices meant for the Traveler, which indicates that this world must have been made for us. So surely we weren't kidnapped, but we're meant to be here all along. Well, what do teleportation waypoints do? Move you from one space to another. What being has power over space itself? Asmodee. Who was the unknown god that captured both twins just to put them right back on Teyvat unharmed? Asmodee. Which ruler is said to have switched sides from the heavenly principles? Asmodee. Who could have moved the traveler's spaceship to the moon and thus learned all sorts of startling revelations about the true nature of their creator, Asmodee? Why was Asmodee eavesdropping on the conversation between the traveler and twin when they were discussing the Abyss Order's ultimate plan? Why did she just leave as though she had no problem with it? Why did the twin not say a word or even care after they saw her? Fellow lore enjoyers of Genshin Impact, what if the secret hero of the entire story, all along, has been Qiyana Coslana?